I'm B.
And I'm Sam.
And we're two best friends who like to talk shit about smut, wingspan,
and sometimes books.
Join us every Wednesday for a new episode. Episode 9. First of all, I feel like we should make a habit of this. It's literally, we're just becoming page turners now. But what are you reading at the moment?
I am currently reading Bride by Ali Hazelwood.
And we're thinking about doing an episode on it.
I'm over halfway now, so we could definitely do our next episode on it.
And are you enjoying?
I'm very much enjoying it.
So fun. I just read it purposely while you were away.
Yeah.
Yeah, while you were in Edinburgh. Was it in Edinburgh I read it?
No, you read Promise and
just this weekend I've read it, or this week. And I picked it up on a random Thursday night, literally like an hour before bed. And I just bought it in Tesco. And I didn't buy it because we were going to do it on the pod. I just had heard...
it was on sale in Tesco.
Yeah, it was like £3. And I was like, oh, do you know what? I need something for the shelves. I'll give it a go.
And fill them up.
Yeah, fill them up. And Ali Hazelwood's other books are very much... I feel like they may be more your thing, but not my thing. They're more of like a Colleen Hoovery kind of like...
Oh, okay.
Right, like the Love Hypothesis is like a science rom-com. She's got a chess one that's like...
Oh, I didn't realise that was her. I know who... Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that Bride being like a fantasy kind of... Not that it's very fantasy, but it is a little bit. Is, you know, kind of like if she's doing a bit of a Rebecca Yarros and dipping her toe in the world. And
it's a bit... from what I've read so far, it's a bit like a mystery novel though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to find out what happened to her friend.
It reminds me a bit of like kind of a bit Vampire Diaries sort of. It's much more in the modern world.
Yeah.
But it's just very light on the fantasy. But I literally read it in 24 hours.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it down. I literally was like...
I'm enjoying it.
Like this. I fucking loved it. Really didn't think I would. I was real skeptical.
When we talked about it, we were both a bit like, maybe.
Yeah.
And then you said you enjoyed it, so I was like, right, I'm diving into that
I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Couldn't put it down.
What are you reading at the moment?
I'm still reading The fucking Witch Collector.
I feel like you've been reading this.
I have. So, people bang on about it. People have been banging on about it for ages. Seen it all over BookTok.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. I think it's a duology.
Trilogy.
Thank you. I was going to say trioology.
It's been a long day.
We haven't had a drink tonight.
It's been a long old Monday.
It's a trilogy, and often, like they do with The Cruel Prince, they'll put like the second and third on Kindle Unlimited or reduced to 99p. They're not the first. It's really annoying. Yeah. So I think I got sucked into it that way. Then I downloaded the second one because it was free, and then I was like, no. They've been on my Kindle for ages, probably since the beginning of last year.
Yeah.
And I've just been meaning to read them. And then I saw a TikTok and people were like, oh, it's filthy. I was like, right, maybe I need to prioritise this. Oh my... Like, the first book, I'm 56%... I was in the first 10% for about 3.5 weeks. I persevered... Now I finished Bride, I was like, right, I need to get this Witch Collector off my plate. I need to get it away. I'm 56% of the way through now. And the first book is really, in any other fantasy book, what the first third would be.
Right.
So, you know, like... finds a girl in a village, mysterious shadow daddy, has to take her to the evil king, and we're going to journey together, and it's all going to be about us being like snugly on our journey. But in reality, that's normally like the first, maybe third of a book. Then they get somewhere, and then it's like, right, we're going to, now the plot starts. No, we're 56% of the way through, they're still travelling. And from what I can gather, that is the first book. So basically, I think that the series could have been like a duology, like the size of the Priory of the Orange. Oh, it's not on my shelf, but Priory of the Orange Tree. But she split it down into a trilogy. Right. But it's the pacing. And people have said it's supposed to be filth. I'm 56% of the way through and I've yet to see any filth.
Teasing you.
Yeah. But the magic system's really cool in it. They're called like singers, like they sing the magic. But the main character, I don't know what the official term is, but she can't speak. Oh. So she signs the magic. Yeah, she's mute. So she signs the magic. So when people are singing, she's singing, but she sings with her hands.
Oh, that's
it's
really
really
cute.
Beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's lovely. And I would recommend it, but it's just taken me a month of Sundays to get through it. But today we're here for A Promise in Peridot.
A Promise of Peridot.
How many times have I said it wrong?
I say it wrong all the time.
I feel like, because like in Peridot.
A Promise of Peridot.
Eagerly awaited.
Yes.
We've been gasping for this one.
Second book of the Dawn of Onyx.
Sacred Stones.
Yeah.
The second book of the Dawn of Onyx.
Dawn of Onyx was the first one by Kate Gordon.
Yes, we love you, Kate Gordon.
So we both really enjoyed Dawn of Onyx.
Loved
it. It was only told by Arwen's point of view, Dawn of Onyx.
Yeah, we don't get any Kane.
No,
we don't get any Kane.
No. So when I was doing my research for tonight, a lot of people... sorry, I'm just diving straight in.
No, go for it.
A lot of people dislike the second book because of the dual point of view. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the change of pace from book one being single point of view to then book two being a dual point of view.
I'm shocked by that. So I think we've said this before at some point. I'm generally not a multiple POV lover.
Yeah.
I don't mind dual, but when there's three, I'm like, my ADHD can't cope there. Yeah. However, I think we said this about Fate Tainted Blood, that I think sometimes you need it.
Yeah.
Just to it just freshens the palette.
It does.
I actually didn't feel that I don't think that was one of the comments we made about Dawn of Onyx, that we felt like we needed a Kane chapter, because Arwen was such an enjoyable narrator.
I think the final chapter is a Kane chapter in a Dawn of Onyx,
maybe.
potentially.
But I was literally going to say, it was in my brain notes, that was one of my favourite things. Probably my favourite thing about this book are the Kane chapters, because his internal monologue is fucking hilarious.
I agree.
All the quotes I sent you, all the quotes I highlighted, his it's all Kane.
Yeah.
And when he's talking to Arwen, but then he almost speaks in his mind what he really wants to say.
Yes.
The one, I'm going to jump straight in. I haven't got it. I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but when she says something like, would you like some tea? And he says, no, I'm okay, thanks. And then his internal monologue says, yes, and I drink it from your mouth if you let me. I loved it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's what people have said.
a lot of the hate that I've read about the book is because they enjoyed
Arwen,
her point of view in book one, and they didn't enjoy getting Kane's point of view in book two.
I'm shocked. And you're wrong. Whoever said that, sorry.
Wrong.
Because it's fucking we obviously were excited about this, but we've been in this place before, maybe not quite to such a level, but House of Flame and Shadow, where we get real fucking hype for a book. It doesn't live up to expectations, and then it's in reality, the books we love the most are probably the ones that, Bride, for example, we had such low expectations that it
it's going to be shit.
But for me, oh my god, did this deliver?
Yeah. Well, I sat down to start it. I'd ordered it on Kindle, so it came through at 12:05, and I was like, no, I can't start fresh in the morning. In my first sitting of reading it, I read the first 25% of the book. Yeah. In one sitting.
I forgot. I thought I had it in pre-order. Turns out I didn't. So it was the next morning you text me and were like, have you got it? And I was like, oh shit, turns out I didn't. So went and bought it 10 a.m. on the day it was released. And literally that. I think that night I sat down with it, properly. And I genuinely think I did about 20-something% in the first sitting, because I just was like, this is wonderful.
It just from the get-go, the pace, I do find this with second books, because you don't need to do all the world building. We've had all that. We've established the world and the magic and how it works. You
get more fun with characters.
Yeah.
So it was so much fun.
Yeah.
At one point, right, so the scene where so it's when they all have an argument in the jungle, when they're all having a barmy.
Yeah.
And I think, is it after she kisses Frederick? Is that his name?
No.
What's his name?
Frederick.
It's
not Frederick.
Oh, it's
you
Frederick.
Put another R in it. It's Fed. It's Frederick.
Okay. Oh.
You love adding letters to people's names.
I can't. I'm dyslexic. I don't. I mean, we talked about this, the Caltane thing. She was Caitlin for 6.5 months. Fedric from Citrine confused me because the city's called Azura.
Azure. Yeah.
Azure. So I kept thinking it was Azure, but that's not. That's the city within Citrine. But yeah, the Prince of Citrine, who she has a little smooch with in the tent. Which do you know what? I normally don't like a jealousy trope, but I fucking loved it in this.
Yeah, same. But I think it's because we got the internal monologue from Kane,
and it was really quickly resolved. You know, I hate it when it's like dragged out. But it was really quickly like, oh no, I didn't want to kiss him, and it was
he kissed me.
I'm glad that you said that. But I think it's just after she kisses Fedric and they all have a massive barmy in the jungle. And at one point, like, I think it's when she accidentally slags off Griffin, he overhears and she's like, he's got no heart. And then they round the corner and he's there and he's like, oh, and they're all just screaming at each other and having a thing. And at that point, I did start to get concerned about pacing because I thought, I love it, Kate Golden, right? But this is a lot of arguing. And it felt like it was getting to a precipice. And then it was going to go like this, you know, because at that point, what are we like, probably like 50% of the way through at that point, maybe 60. And I was really concerned, but it just kept going and going and going and going. I just loved it. Yeah. So quite early on in the book, it must be in the first 25% because it was in the first time that it was in, you know, my first read, because obviously then I went on holiday and I had to put my book down. We get a really fun scene, which is the poker scene. I fucking ate that up. So I think that was pretty much like after that scene is where you got to. And when I was nearing it, well, first of all, sorry, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. It leads into this. Is it? Oh no, is the quote I sent you and Liv and Amy in the middle of the night after that scene?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, okay. But I was in that scene and I text you a picture of how many photos did I send you of my face like this? Like, throughout that whole week? Because I just was like, I was literally like twitching on the sofa, like, I can't cope with how much, and that scene. So, they're all in Citrine, under the water, in like mermaid country, effectively.
Yeah, they can breathe underwater. Yeah.
And we've got Kane, Griffin, Ryder,
Fedric,
and then this man whose name we can't remember, unless you remember his name, the creepy guy who was had like a sex slave thing going on, and they thought he had the dagger but he didn't. Oh yeah, no shit name, but it's some creepy man. That's kind of the reason they were going to Citrine, is because they thought that this dagger that is in the prophecy that's going to kill the fake king, they thought that this guy would have it. Turns out he didn't. And two of his kind of goons, and he's like a crime lord, effectively, isn't he? A bit of a scumbag. And Kane and Griffin have found out prior to this scene that he's been like selling young women on like a slave trade.
Not even young women, children,
like a fucking So they have to entertain him just to get information, but I think they always plan to slice and dice him after the fact because he's a scumbag.
But he's really good friends with the king and queen,
which is Fedric's mum and dad, the king and queen of Citrine, and they keep him. They said, don't they? They're like, when they found out about the children thing, they like got somebody else, one of his men, like executed, but not him. Yeah. Because he kind of like, he's like a crime lord, but he benefits the royal family. So they invite him to a poker night to try and loosen him up and get information. And it's in the back of like a bakery, like a cafe or something. Yeah. So they're all playing poker, and Mary and Arwen, obviously Kane and Arwen are like, she won't fucking speak to him, doesn't want to look at him, hates him still. Go out and have a little cute, that was so cute, they go for like a little dinner.
And they go fucking steaming.
Yeah, because Mary's using her magic and stealing the wine from other tables. I was such a delight.
And then they go dancing.
And they're on their way home, and Mary drunkenly wants like a cake, so they go into this cafe, and is it like they hear shouting in the back room? And Arwen thinks, oh my god, like there's something going on, like people fighting. And she pulls back the curtain, and they're all sat playing poker together. Yeah. And then she says, you need to let us come play. Yeah. And Mary's like, we're coming to play. And Mary in this book was a delight.
So delightful.
I love how like she's such a firecracker.
She's such a fun character to have in a book.
Yeah. She reminds me, there's a lot of Arwen that reminds me of Bryce, but she reminds me a lot of Bryce. Yeah. The way she just like sits her bum down at the poker table, like, what are we playing? Yeah. And then Kane's like, absolutely fucking not, you need to get out of here. This guy's like a file. And they're like, and she does it despite him, doesn't she? She just wants to piss him off.
And her internal monologue through all this is so funny.
And then I think it's Kane that says, you've got no money to play with. And Arwen says, we'll play with our clothes. Oh, I just love it.
Delightful.
It was delightful. She whips off her knickers. It was just, and then the creepy pedo guy, what happens? He runs into the back room or something, like... She's
been, like, pretending she's shit at poker all night.
Yes.
Losing everything. And then for, like, her last piece of clothing, she sort of, like, baits him and is like, have you not got anything better? Have you not got... I want you to show me your weapons. And he's like, oh, I've got a really special dagger. And she's like, okay, I want to see it tonight. She wins and he's like, oh, it's not here, blah, blah, blah. And he tries to run then. And they end up going in the back room and slicing and dicing.
Which was also great. But that was, for the first 25%, like,
that scene. Fantastic.
It's like, it just, I think, I was thinking this, and I've been thinking it a lot, like, leading up to recording this episode, right? Honestly, like, probably in my top 5 of favourite scenes ever in books.
Yeah.
I would hold it akin to, right, really big coming out with it, but like the High Lord meeting. I enjoyed it that much. Like, I keep hesitant to give these books as much credit as I want to, because I keep thinking, oh, like, you know, she's a new author. Maybe it isn't, you know, because it isn't that hyped at the moment on Book Talk. But you know what? I was like, you know what? No, I enjoyed reading that book, Promise of Peridot, as much as Wings and Ruin.
Yeah, I agree. No, I agree.
Enjoyed it that much.
It was really enjoyable, and it was a nice change for me, because when I read Fate Inked in Blood, I kind of struggled to, I pushed myself through that. So then to pick up A Promise of Peridot, which I couldn't put down, it was nice to have that balance, I'd come off a slow book into something that I was like devouring.
When I finished it, I said to Corey, because I don't think I'd read anything in between that and Fate Inked in Blood. I don't think I did. And when I finished it, I said to Corey, like, that book reminds me why I love reading. I think I didn't realise I'd been in a slump, and I finished that and I was like, the like thrill, and I don't think I've had a book like that in a long time.
No, I agree.
I'm trying to think. I genuinely don't think I've had a book like that this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What have I read this year? Because Gold felt real flat for me.
I understand what Raven Kennedy was trying to do.
Spoiler warning for Play Prisoner series. Skip this bit if you don't want spoilers for Play Prisoner. Sorry, I didn't say that.
I understand what Raven Kennedy was trying to do, because she's setting it all up for Goldfinch, which she finished writing today.
Yes, I saw. So excited.
I'm very excited. But I understand that she's trying to set everything up for this big final book.
But it didn't need to be a Kingdom of Ash. It's not quite, but it's a House of Flame and Shadow size book.
It's massive.
And it's a filler. It's a filler. It was all filler.
Oh, yeah.
Filler. Which is fine, right? Like, I get you need to have filler books. I understand that. It didn't need to be the size it was. I know we don't have it, but I've seen it.
I can give her some chapters to take out of that book.
Yeah, it was a lot. But yeah, so that was kind of like, it wasn't our first read of the year, but like, it was our
and then we had Flame and Shadow, which fell flat in its face.
What else have we done this year?
Fate Inked in Blood was good.
Oh, alright.
Yeah.
It was fine.
Obviously I did Iron Flame and Fourth Wing.
Yeah, I done those. Anything else I read? The Powerless was...
Powerless was rocky.
I'm just looking what else I read this year.
Obviously I've done King of Bat and Blood and...
Right, but obviously that I genuinely enjoyed.
Yeah.
I did the Ever King and Ever Queen. They were really good fun. Yeah. I enjoyed those. And again, I think like...
Oh, we did that arc of like the place had the veil over it and the magic Rotten in Vain. Yeah.
It was okay.
It was fine.
So up until this, genuinely I probably would have said that the Ever King and Ever Queen were they were like just a fun ride.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't like it wasn't like a Daniel Jensen level.
Yeah.
Of like, but it was such a fun, enjoyable duology.
I've got them on my Kindle.
Really good fun. But so but this is like taking I genuinely think, I don't think anything this year, well, apart from the fact that the third one's coming out in bloody October, give it to me now.
What a treat. Giving us 2 books in a year.
But honestly, providing that isn't a knockout, which I think it will be, but like at the moment, this is the best book. It's going to take the best book I read this year.
Yeah. Do you know, I think I did it. I think I said this on my personal TikTok page when I did my review. If Kate Golden wants to write 9 books for the 9 kingdoms, I'll read all fucking 9 of them.
Every single one. I couldn't agree more. It's so readable. It's so much fun. And like, it just, you finish it and you're like, and I think having done A Fating Blood and this like side by side, it's the perfect example of Daniel Jensen is like a master writer. She's like such a craftsman. I don't know if that's the word, but you know what I mean? Like the way she crafts a book, there's nothing about A Fating Blood in terms of pacing, character building. You couldn't knock it, but like, I know it hasn't come out yet, but hopefully by the time it would have, with our bonus episode we did with Page 2.
Yeah.
I think Liv put it really well. She's like, there's something about this book that was missing, but I can't tell you what it is.
Yeah.
It's well written, it's good, but it's just missing that like spark. Whereas, is Kate Golden the most technical, ticking all the boxes, world building? No, but it's so much fun that you just don't care. Yeah. I don't care. Like,
I think with The Fating Blood, I think if either of us had been super into Norse mythology and were like really into it, it would have been a more enjoyable read for us. But because neither of us are really into that sort of mythology, like apparently from what I've read of reviews, she sticks very closely to Norse mythology. I think we said this, and really has taken the time to learn about Norse mythology to make sure it's an accurate reflection.
And it came off like that. Yeah. But I just think, whereas like we love a fae book, and I'm not saying fae, but like, there's a lot of like tropes in fae, like the fae world, that kind of things that like, you have like Seelie and Unseelie courts, things like that. So that's more of our like, I think we have a lot more pre-existing knowledge of those worlds.
Yeah, it's easy for us to just jump in and understand.
Like in Iron Flame, spoiler for Iron Flame, when they say, oh, a wyvern, well, we know what a wyvern, I know it's not real, but do you know what I mean? Like,
no, yeah.
It's those worlds, whereas like Norse mythology is brand spanking new. Yeah. And the Ever King and Ever Queen, well, that whole series, which I can't remember the name of, but almost all of L.J. Andrews' work is Viking fae. There's a lot of Viking-esque about it. But having read those, I definitely don't think it's that I don't like the Viking aspect. Yeah. I enjoy, that's a nice take, I think, like you said. It's so hardcore mythology. Yeah. I think when you are somebody who has like not a foggy about it, it's harder to follow. And again, not to kind of like hang on the Bridge Kingdom and the Daniel Jensen, but with the Bridge Kingdom, it's such a fun read because you don't need to know anything to be able to read it. Yeah. You just, and I get like, obviously you don't, it wasn't like Fating Blood came with a disclaimer saying you need to research Norse mythology, but I think having read the Bridge Kingdom series, we love them. Yeah. We'd only just finished the 3rd and 4th before we read Fating Blood. They're such a wonderful series. I think like kind of my expectation was going to be a little higher. For Fating. I think if I'd read a Fating Blood first, I haven't read any of her other stuff, I probably would have a bit of a better opinion. I don't dislike it. Yeah. But it just was a bit like, it was fine. Yeah. Whereas, sorry to come and we were back to A Promise of Peridot, but this is just, it's all vibe. Well, I wouldn't say it's all vibes. I'm cutting it short. It isn't all vibes because there are books that are all vibes. And I think a prime example is Bride. Yeah. Bride is vibes, but if you were to actually take like storytelling and predictability, it's very predictable. Yeah. I actually don't think Promise of Peridot was that predictable. For me, I know you found it a little predictable towards the end, didn't you?
Yes. And I think that's the only thing we disagreed on with this book was I didn't enjoy how it ended. I didn't enjoy how everything turned out. Yeah. But that's not to say I didn't enjoy the book. It was just that final, how she left it didn't sit well with me.
Because you expected it, or because it just wasn't like a well-rounded ending?
Yeah, so obviously she ends up in his father's care. Which is
Ruby? No. It's Opal?
No, he doesn't live in those territories, does he?
He lives in a...
No, King Lazarus is in...
But I thought they were still all stones as well. They were just different stones.
Are they not? Are they?
Yes, there's the Pale Mountains, the Bitter Waste Garnet Kingdom, Amber, Quartz, Opal, Peridot, Onyx, And then in the middle is the Jade Islands and Citrine. Yeah, isn't he in like the Pearl Mountains?
The Fey realm of Lumira. He doesn't. It's completely separate to the map. We don't see it on the map.
My bad. Okay.
So that's Arendelle. That map is on two continents. He's in the Fey realm of Lumira.
Yeah, okay. No, now you said it rings a bell.
Yeah.
So she wakes up in a bed, strapped to the bed, has been healed because she gets fucking impaled by a wyvern claw, which is Lazarus as a wyvern. Yeah.
Kane thinks she's dead.
Yeah, he does. And Lazarus comes in and says, "Yeah, but I'm not going to kill you because I'm going to impregnate you and we're going to have a baby." Sorry. We should add that to our top 10 pickup lines.
I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to impregnate you.
Plot twist.
Yeah, I knew she wasn't going to be dead. Like, there's a third book, so we both knew she wasn't going to be dead. Yeah, I just don't love that she's ended up in Lumira or wherever it is. And I sort of assumed that he wanted her to be like a breeding mare.
I didn't. That's the one thing I didn't necessarily pick up on. But what our sort of speculations for book 3, I say you came up with this theory and I'm just riding its coattails, is that because how realistically she's literally chained to a bed, and the kind of first chapter we get of A Reign of Rose, because that's what's lovely about Kate Golden books, is you get the first chapter of the next book with this book.
Thank you, Kate Golden.
Thank you, Kate Golden. So we got the first chapter of Peridot, didn't we, way back when? Is that Kane has obviously been looking for her, and he's gone to find this. Is it like the White Crow or something? Yes. Which they mention in Promise of Peridot, which is some sort of wizard.
It is a wizard. I don't know when that made me laugh.
That he thinks can make Kane full Fae, which would skew the prophecy and means that Kane would actually qualify as the person to die as opposed to Arwen.
Yes, but the blade is destroyed.
Is it?
Yeah, Kane doesn't know that. Lazarus tells Arwen in the final chapter, when he tells her, "I'm not going to kill you, I'm going to impregnate you." Yeah. He tells her, now that there's no blade, I don't need to worry about a prophecy, and we can start repopulating the Fae realm.
It's not really, though, is it?
No. Well, there's got to be a way to kill him. Yeah,
so I just came up with a really funny quip in my head then. And when Lazarus comes in and says, "I'm going to poke you, Arwen, but it's not the way you think." I'm going to poke you. Yeah. But actually, I worry about that. Is that how he's going to do it? Or is it going to be a bit of a throw in a glass? What do I want to throw in a glass? Is it going to be a bit of a throw in a glass situation where they're just like, syringing babies into her? I think the syringe option. Surely he's not going to bump uglies with her.
I hope not.
Yeah, because that's really rough.
Yeah, so my theory, going back, is that she's already pregnant with Kane's baby because they have unprotected sex.
And she says,
"Well, I'll make a tonic
in the morning." They never get there.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. I people get real mad about a pregnancy trope, but I think maybe the pregnancy tropes they're referring to are like really stinky ones.
Yeah.
I actually, we found out she was pregnant, not stinky. I couldn't think of a word then of like what the word was to use it.
Stinky.
I actually don't mind. Like if she turned out to be pregnant, I'd be fine with it because it makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes sense to the plot because what is going to stop Lazarus poking her?
Yeah, not knowing that she can't get pregnant.
Well, she's already got one, so he doesn't need to put it in her because Kane already has.
But it wouldn't be full-blooded, would it?
It wouldn't be, no. But then obviously she's going to get impaled on a wyvern claw. But then you said, it's magic. She might be fine.
And also, if she's just got pregnant that day, we're talking like...
If she got impaled to the chest, she might be fine. And sorry, that was the bit I was getting to. Is in the first chapter of Reign of Rose, we get the Kane chapter is that he's with the he's trying to climb a mountain to find the White Crow. He's bouncing off a fucking barrier and killing himself. And then some old man in like the tavern. It's like a tavern, at the bottom of the mountain is like, "Oh, why don't you come in for a cup of tea and let's talk about the White Crow?" And then plot twist, it is the White Crow.
Yeah, I fucking saw that coming.
Yeah. But then it tells you that scene of Kane trying to get her back
is months later.
3 months. So that makes me scared.
Yeah. So what I think is going to happen is White Crow is going to say, "Yeah, I'll turn you full-blooded." turns full-blooded. He's like, right, I'm going back to Lumera. He turns up. She's got a big pregnant belly. He assumes it's her father's. Yeah. And there's a bit of a miscommunication trope, which we all know I don't like. But I think he's going to turn up and she's going to have a big pregnant belly because it's been months.
I think that, yeah, I do agree with you. I think that is going to happen as well. I think she's going to be pregnant, which I'd be fine with.
Yeah.
But I do think that, like, because they, at the end of this book, they finally fucking give out with their love to each other, which was great. Also, to get out, we'll just get out of the way, the fucking sex. It was like 3 chapters worth. First of all, Kate Gold's I fucking love you.
Fantastic.
It was excellent.
And it wasn't like...
It wasn't just like, oh, yeah, get it, we've read this before.
And it wasn't just like, I don't know what I can use as an example, but it wasn't just like bang, 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 bang. The tension leading up to it, fantastic.
It wasn't, spoiler factor, a chapter 55. Yeah, that's when they bang, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because with chapter 55, I think we said this before, that there's so much build and to Feyre and Reach doing it. When they actually do it, it isn't particularly steamy. And it's fine.
Yeah.
There's like one little bit that I think is quite steamy, but I remember reading it and being like,
But obviously, like, before their banging scene, he goes down on her in Briar's house to, like, relieve tension.
Oh, yeah, they're doing that whole, like, it's just sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's all that happens. He just wants to please her.
He won't let her. Yeah. He won't let them have sex.
And that, for me, I was like...
Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah, it was really... And then, I said this to you. Obviously, I wish I could have put this in our, like, book-ish things that we love and hate the last episode. But a new one for me... Oh, no, I think I did say this. I love it when the male character has, like, another house.
Yeah.
That's really humble, because this is what I was referencing. Isn't it bloody lovely that he's just got, like, a little cottage by the sea?
So stunning.
I love it. Like, God, I love it. And like, she wakes up and he's like made them breakfast and just sat reading the paper. And oh God, I love it so much. It was so good. I loved that.
Yeah, that little town. So cute.
So the only thing that I actually, so for you, I know it was the ending. The thing for me that I didn't love was that the kind of, I guess like the climax, I don't know, just before the end, the sort of big, finishing scene before the ending, where they've got to go, when they finally find out where the blade is, which is this island that falls within Onyx territory.
Yeah.
It's a prison.
Yeah.
And then when we get, and okay, fine with the prison, but then we get the description of the prison. It's just so like...
It's like a crater, like going down into the earth.
But also, like, they're like whole, like, oh, and there's a tribe, and there's battling tribes, and they're cannibals, and it was just very, like, done. And I felt like it was a really big kind of almost like... So, you know, is it in Inadequate Air or The Endless War? That spoiler warning for British Kingdom, all of it. Is it in I can't remember which one. It's in one of the Karis books where Zara goes to prison.
The final book.
It was like that's the primary, but with that, because it's so much of the plot, her being in there, you get like almost like a world built within the prison. Yeah,
but like we had like 3 chapters of the prison,
and it was just a lot to like set up to then be like, oh, he's got the knife, he's evil.
And now they're out there.
And now Lazarus has shown up. I just think they could have gone somewhere. It didn't need to be a whole fresh new setup of...
No, I agree.
It's a prison. I think that was the only reason I dropped it half a star.
Yeah.
Was I didn't love that.
No, I agree. And I also didn't hate it, but I was just like a bit like, don't care about this plot. The, like, Mary being in like a trance state.
That was weird, but there was a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that's going to pay off big in the 3rd book.
I hope so.
Because the whole thing where, like, Briar says the only way she could have, like, siphoned my magic through the amulet is if she was one of my coven. Yeah. But all my coven are dead. Yeah. Well, obviously fucking not.
Yeah.
And I think, I've got a feeling that maybe, like, Briar's her mum.
Really?
Because Briar's, I'm sure when I was reading it, she's really, like, shifty and really, like, doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that maybe, like...
Potentially.
Yeah, so there was a lot unanswered there, but I think surely that's going to pay off in...
Yeah, I was just like, oh, I don't fucking care that she's sleeping. And then she woke up and now she's training with Briar, and she's so like...
if the sleeping had lasted through to the end of the book and we were going into the next one, like, oh, is Mary going to wake up?
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, it was quite like...
Yeah,
abrupt.
she's awake
like,
now.
She's asleep for one chapter and now she's awake. Okay. Fine. But the little, like, reunion they all had in... What's his castle called? The first one set? Raven?
No.
Shadowhold.
Yes.
The little reunion at the end before they bang. What?
I don't know, it's just so fun. Like, you'd swear we read these books months ago. We read it last week. I can't fucking remember half the names of places.
Not a brain cell. Shadowhold. The little reunion between like Ryder and Lee. Oh, I can't. Sorry, I don't know how to put this into the words. Fucking what, Amelia. I almost for a second when I first started reading that reveal that like, so Lazarus shows up in the prison at the end.
Yeah.
And they're like, how the fuck did he know where we were? Oh, literally only Griffin knew. And then Arwen says, oh my god, the only other person I told was Ryder. And I thought, oh my god, Ryder sold them out. He kind of did, but not intentionally. It was he's been basically banging Amelia.
Yeah.
And Amelia's obviously coaxed it out of him and he didn't think anything of it telling her because she's been an ally the whole way through. And Arwen actually sticks up for Amelia a lot during this book. There's a couple of scenes in Citrine where people are like, your dad's like shit talking her.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing, is that she evidently is the better ruler, but her dad is just like, no. And she sells them out.
Yeah.
To Lazarus. But when I first read that kind of reveal, I thought it was going to be Ryder. My blood.
Yeah.
I was like...
I don't know. As soon as she'd said to Ryder where they were going, I was like, like, why have you dropped that in? Yeah.
And so I am glad though that it's because I honestly really didn't want Mary to end up with Ryder.
Same.
I really didn't.
I really wanted to be with Griffin.
Really, and like they're still not necessarily endgame.
No.
But I think a lot of confessions are made in this book.
Yeah.
Like the way Arwen talks about him is so funny. But
so fucking
like,
funny.
Yeah, this doesn't have a soul and he's not capable of like doing anything. But didn't you find it adorable when they're all arguing and he storms off?
Yeah.
And then Arwen says, where are you going? And Mary says to fight Griffin because he can't see well in the dark. And then Kane says, I'm the only person he's ever told that. How does she know?
So cute.
That's what I mean. Those little like tidbits.
Yeah.
Oh, adorable. And when Mary's out in Briar's house where she's like kind of unconscious.
And doesn't leave her side.
Yeah. And she says that to Mary when they're back at Shadowhold.
Yeah.
Like he didn't eat and sleep, and she's kind of like, and her attitude towards it's so funny. She's like, it's evident they both know what each other feel, but he's just such a like emotionless zombie.
Yeah.
And she's such a like, I think when she loves so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like a puppy.
She needs, like, he's given her nothing. Yeah. And she's like, well, sitting by my bed isn't enough. Yeah. You know?
Tell me. Use your words.
But I'm so glad that I really hope they are. Yeah. Because I really didn't want it to be a Ryder.
No. Not that there's anything wrong with Ryder,
but like, I don't know.
I just liked all the like the tension.
They're so
and the
grumpy sunshine.
Yeah.
Like, to the extreme.
And I love it.
Yeah, me too. The line of the fucking book was the one I sent to you, Amy and Liv, at like 1:00 in the morning, and it was the prime example of when it's like bedtime, you're supposed to be going to bed, and the main male character says like no, and I'm gonna have to go find it because I know what it was. I'll tell you what I fucking get off on. So basically, him and after the strip poker scene, he leaves, and him and Arwen and Griffin like walking through the streets of Citrine back to the castle, and Kane is fucking seething because when they had to murder this, he was going to murder that guy anyway, that crime lord, but Arwen was like in on it, and that guy, the implication was he was going to try and kill Arwen. Arwen's bitching at him saying you didn't need to kill him, you could have left him alive. He's like, fuck that, I'm killing him. And they're arguing in the street getting back to the castle, and Griffin's just there. Griffin's just the third wheel. And then she says, I am starting to think that you get off on killing people. And he turns around and says, I'll tell you what I fucking get off on. Honestly, what I genuinely can't even begin to tell you. That's up there of lines in books. It's probably up in my top 5 with the likes of Put Your Hands on the Headboard. It was literally at 10 to 1 in the morning. I was like, I need to go to bed. And he said that. And he was like, well.
It's the cap cut of the girl, like,
Yes.
Because it's the middle of the night and you need to be quiet.
I sent it to all of you. Yeah. Like, I cropped everything out so I didn't spoil anything. Oh no, you hadn't got to that. No. Yeah. I cropped everything out, but I was like, I have to share this because that is a wild line. Mm-hmm. It was outstanding.
Phenomenal.
And I have so many. I would send you my quotes today. All my quotes are stinky. They're all dirty quotes. Why am I saying stinky so much? Twice in one night. Stinky. All my quotes are dirty. Mm-hmm. The one where he says about my tits.
Wonderful. But it's funny because that who having great tits is set up in Dawn of Onyx because the healer that she works with says you're lucky you've got good tits, like big tits. So like the men come in because you've got big tits or something.
Yeah. Lovely. I love it. The only thing, so a lot of my icks from the week previous were from because I was reading Promise of Peridot. There was at one point, I can't remember what sex scene it was, but there was a point where it was quite heavily laid into how teeny and petite Arwen was. Yeah. I didn't love that. And then in the sex scene, unfortunately, it was a reference. When I said this in the Icks episode, he does say that her
pink
is glistening and pink.
It made me laugh when I was reading it as well because also we had done the Icks episode and you'd said about how when sometimes during sex scenes men are doing things with their hands that just logistically do not work.
Yes.
And then obviously I finished it the next day, I think. So I was reading then him using his hands and I was like,
oh, was there? Yeah, probably.
So how does
yeah, at the time when I was writing that in my brain with King of Battle and Blood, I feel like that was really bad for it. But yeah,
like there's some things, and I'm like.
But in terms of spice, I actually thought it was like excellent.
Yeah,
like the payoff was wonderful.
Yeah,
because generally when you get to like a second book, and I find when you get to a sex scene, it can be disappointing because a lot of the smut that we read is very Control C, Control V, which is fine. But sometimes it just becomes. You just feel like you're almost like you're like dead on the inside reading it because you're like, this is doing nothing for me. I've just read this like a million times. You know, because some books are just not Silver Flames.
I usually as well don't love when the male main character is a virgin. I usually don't love that, but I didn't really mind it in this.
I just feel like
it didn't faze me. Like there wasn't like loads of emphasis on like how like inexperienced. You know, sometimes you read like a virginity trope and it's like really like talks about how she's inexperienced and like you know I'm just like I don't care, but. Yeah, there was none of that in this.
No, it didn't feel weird.
No.
I'm trying to think of an example of that. I was going to say, spoiler warning from Blood and Ash. I was going to say from Blood and Ash, but I feel like there's like a plot point to that.
Yeah.
There's like a reason why Penelope? I'm not sure. What's her nickname? Poppy. Fuck me.
It's like, you know the sound on TikTok and it's like in the beninging yeah. That's what you were like.
Because I know it's Penafenel, or is it Penelope? Not Penafenel, it's Penelope. It's just spelled fucking weird, isn't it? It's Penelope, but like it's spelled weird. And then I was like, but she's got a fucking nickname. I was like, what's the fucking nickname?
Poppy.
I feel like with that, like that's a plot point for me. Like I get that, but I agree with you. I'm trying to think. I feel like I've read something. Oh, I'm not gonna say.
Okay.
But sometimes books do it really well, where they're just like, yeah, I'm a virgin, who cares?
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It's when like there's loads of emphasis on like inexperience and like things like that. I'm just like, oh, piss off.
In Imagining, so this is so off topic, but I reread. I don't know why I reread it. It popped up on my TikTok. You know the bonus chapter. I don't know what book it came out with, but you know it's called like Embers and Ruin or Wings and Embers, and it's the Nestor and Cassian like bonus chapter in between in between Akamath and Akawar, where he goes to their manor to like see Nestor, and she knees him in the balls. I don't know why I was literally rereading that this week. It must have come on TikTok and I was just having a little reread. Just spoiler warning for Akhtar, all of them. But Nestor was a virgin before Cassian.
Really?
Yeah. So and it says it in that. So actually no. retract that statement. She was not, because of the beginning of Silver Flames. But she was up until Silver Flames. So.
Yeah, she fucking shags everything.
Yeah, no, sorry. And then I was like, that's a but no. I literally scrapped the last 5 minutes. That was complete bullshit.
Right, that's getting cut.
But sorry, in that scene, at that point, she is.
Yeah.
So that's the point, is that Cassian. So if you remember, she has she's supposed to get married to that Thomas guy. Remember, he offers his hand in marriage, and I think Elaine says that there's loads of siblings, and his dad is really physically abusive towards the mum. And then I think Feyre says to Elaine, like, does Nesta love him? And Elaine's like, I don't think Nesta's capable of love. I think she just thinks she needs to get married. But he's the one that like sexually assaults her, or he tries to, when she tells him that the engagement is off, or she doesn't want to marry him, he tries to sexually assault her. And she because that's why kind of the whole like fueling for the training with Cassian, she doesn't, when it's happened then, and then obviously with Highburn, she doesn't want to feel physically incapable. Yeah. So Cassian says in that scene, have you ever been with a man? And she's like, what's it to you? And he was like, well, I'm going to take that answer as no, because if it was a yes, you would have said. And then she says something, and he's like, oh, it's fine that you haven't. And I remember reading being like, fuck, Nesta was a virgin, but obviously retract that statement. Yeah. She wasn't, but she banged all the fucking Valaris and stuff. Good for her.
Yeah, anyone who drinks in Rita's is...
That was a good time, Nesta.
Yeah.
Not going to lie. A good time, Nesta.
Party girl.
She answers the door to her then mate, which I think she probably that they was going on in the man that's in her bed's outfit.
Yeah, amazing.
Sorry, that was completely on a fucking tangent for no reason.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't love the pregnancy, the virginity trope,
but I didn't mind it.
It was fine. Like it was fine. Like it was whatever. It was just like fine.
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, the smut in this was excellent. Not like the dirtiest book in the world, and not loads of it, but like the perfect amount.
Mm-hmm.
So much tension.
So much tension.
The scene where he has her in the alley or up against the wall in Citrine, well, he doesn't, but tries to. Him in the shower in Citrine when he smashes the tiles, cracking one out to her. Wonderful.
Phenomenal. And do you know, sometimes the tension does it for me more than than the payoff.
What did we say? What did we say this in? Maybe it was the last episode. Might not have been. But like, I always say that like Throne of Glass obviously is YA, right? Yeah. It's a little bit. It isn't smutty. It's just this. It's a romance series, so obviously there's going to be like romance, and there is banging, but not like
we don't get any description.
No, not like we don't get mechanics.
Yeah.
Apart from we talk about this all the time. I think it is My Roman Empire. Is Dorian lifting the knee. I don't think I'll ever stop thinking about it, ever. I think I'll be on my deathbed and I'll be like, oh, remember that? But Tog is prime example of there's no smut in that.
Yeah.
But the tension is so sizzling, piping hot between a lot of the characters that it, like, because for me, have we ever read anything that's just pure fantasy and no, like, when I say no romance, I think there's romance and then there's like our kind of romance. I don't think we have we? Have we ever read anything that's completely clean? Like, I mean, squeaky clean.
Powerless has got tension, but nothing, we don't get a payoff in Powerless. There's no banging in Powerless.
Yeah, so maybe Powerless is... maybe that's why I didn't love it. Because the Cruel Prince we still get, like, that's YA, but I feel like that's another example, like in the realm of Tog. I don't think we haven't read anything that isn't smart. Or like some version of it.
Yeah.
But like, if I think to other books I've read, like Lord of the Rings, for example, where there's just nothing, like absolutely nothing. The point I was making is, it doesn't need to be filth for me to love it.
Yeah,
I think you can have. I wouldn't say squeaky clean because Tog isn't like squeaky clean, but it's pretty clean, and it literally leaves me gasping.
Yeah,
because I was really nervous reading Tog for the fact that people told me it was YA, and I thought, and I don't look. Akamath didn't have sex and it would still be my favourite book, yes.
Yeah.
That isn't the only reason, because we do agree that some books are just unnecessarily, it's too, like, forced down your throat. A lot of the dark romances that aren't necessarily, like, fantasy, so, like, Haunting Adeline, or Adeline, how you say it, like, it was enjoyable, but it was just too, like, it was just too, like, there's no plot. It's all just, like, bang, bang, bang. So I feel like we always want both.
Yeah.
But I think that Tog is a prime example where it can actually be none.
Yeah.
But the tension is so excellent that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I think that this is an example of, I know they kind of do, but like the tension in this, even if you were to take the kind of sex scenes out, was just phenomenal.
No, I agree.
I got there in the end.
Yeah. To get there, though.
That was a big one. That was a rough
You went from here to here by doing this.
Literally. At one point ended up on Blood and Ash somewhere.
In the beginning.
I love how, right, the conversation we had before this was like, when we do our next book review, we're not gonna because we don't intend to fall into the scene by scene thing.
No.
We just end up fucking doing it. I don't know how we end up doing it. We just do.
We're like once upon a time.
I think it's because up until now, even though we get more comfortable as weeks go on, we're still, because what was our first book review? It wasn't Feet and Blood. It was Fourth Wing.
Yeah, we're still finding our feet with like how we want to do it.
The off the cuff, but the more like the last episode, they come more naturally to us. Yeah. Because they just do. Yeah,
because I think when we fall into the scene by scene, if we miss a bit, we're like, oh shit, like we can jump back and talk about that now, because and like it's not necessary. People who are listening to these podcasts have read the book.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to blow by blow.
I think we did Fourth Wing really well. I think that actually went really well. I felt like it was a good balance in my opinion. Iron Flame, I don't think
hot mess.
Well, I think it was just because Iron Flame was a hot mess.
Yeah, so we were a hot mess.
We were a hot mess. Yeah. And then we did Dawn of Onyx next.
Pissed.
And that was just, we thought it was like, we literally thought we were fucking, what's a big famous podcast? Give me one. A famous podcast? I don't know.
Yeah.
We thought we were podcasters of the year in that. In hindsight, it was 4 hours of unedited footage. So I think we mentioned this before, but the first part of the recording, we got to the end of the book. We were done. In what our normal recording length is, which is usually like, an hour and a half-ish. Yeah. That's what we normally our raw footage is. Then there was an additional 2 and a bit hour recording.
Where we're talking about the Queen of England.
Yeah. But we literally, it was like this. In the end, once I cut everything out, it was like this much of just to wrap up the end. It was just this much. We talk about, what's the guy called? Who, funny enough, shows back up in Promise and Peridot. Fucking Brands Arwen Valondale.
Oh, when we call him Mallard. And we are crying laughing for about 10 minutes.
You say his name wrong, I say Halden, and then we say something, and you go, what's his name? And I go, I don't know. I don't remember. And I'm looking at you, it's like 15 seconds. I've just said it, and I'm going, Halden, and you're going, no. Not Halden, whatever. Haaland. Sorry. So, Promise of Dawn of Onyx was a fucking mess because we were drunk. And then Fating in Blood, I think we were frazzled in that one.
Yeah, it'd been a long night.
It'd been a long night. We did a double recording. It was rough, and like and that was the thing. I think the way that we do, because I did think when I was editing a Fating in Blood, well, if we're recording it, I don't have to edit all of this. Yeah. But the way we have a conversation is really hard to cut out. Yeah. So I'd said to you tonight, let's not go blow by blow. Yeah.
And I'd been thinking that, like, what questions have I got for B about this book, rather than just talking scene by scene.
I think we just needed to have more confidence in our capability of talking about a book.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we just felt like, maybe just for me, you just fall into like, let's talk about a scene because it's a prompt, but we don't need, like, evidently this has been although like you just said, I just spent a 10-minute rant on trying to get to fucking, what was it? I don't even know what, something. Fuck, virginity?
Yeah. No.
Spice. Sizzle. Tension.
Yes, tension. That's where we started. Sorry. Promise of Peridot.
Yeah.
What did you rate it?
4.5 stars.
Same.
And honestly, right, I think I was being, I'm just such a, because for me to give something a 5-star, right, I'm so like, I'm scared to like give it a 5, because I think what I think of 5s for me are such like big hitters. Yeah. But in reality, the reason why those books are 5s, like, Akamath, Silk Flames.
Yeah, Kingdom of Ash.
Kingdom of Ash. What else do I give a 5? I don't think there's much out. Oh, fucking Door of No Worlds.
Yes.
Because they're so, like, I think the emotion that they...
Yeah.
But the reality is, as much as I love ACOTAR, and it will always be my favourite series, and I think I'd say a good 30 to 40% of my reasoning for that is because of the time of life and when I read it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first.
Yeah.
Whereas now with The Dawn of Onyx and Promise of Peridot, we're like 100 and something book, and we've read so many Fae of that ilk that it becomes a little bit like samey.
Yeah.
So I think ACOTAR gets away with it because it was my... It was like I was gasping at every turn, whereas this now it was like, I can see what's coming. So I'm really reluctant to give it a 5, but I might
revisit
that once we have Rose.
Yeah.
I think once we've got the trilogy, and depending how it goes, I potentially might put that up to a 5, but right now it's 4.5, and the half is dropped by the fact that I didn't fucking love the prison bit.
Yeah, so I didn't love... it's a 4.5 for me as well. I didn't love the prisoner. I didn't love the Mary being asleep.
Yeah.
And I didn't love the ending. I didn't love her ending up with Lazarus, and I don't know.
I was fine.
I just felt like, I saw that coming. Yeah. I was just a bit like, okay, you haven't shocked me.
Yeah.
And like a book doesn't have to shock me to be a 5-star, but like you said, maybe we've just read too much of this genre.
That is
maybe we need a little palate cleanser.
And the only other reason, like adding to the prison thing, was that I didn't love, because I said this, I don't think that it's in Dawn of Onyx that he talks about how petite Arwen is.
No.
I don't think he does. I didn't love that. And there was like, I didn't love I mean, at the end of the day, it's one word, is pink, and she says it once, but like, there was something about the petite thing, and I'm trying to remember, was there another ick that was like, ooh, yes, but I can't.
Mooling.
Oh,
disgusting.
Didn't love that.
Yeah, that was in this book.
That sex scene is probably one of the best I've ever read.
Yeah, fantastic. But actually, I might have preferred him going down on her scene. I really, really enjoyed that.
And what made it for me, this whole book, the spice and the just general, is Kane's POV and internal monologue.
Yeah, so it shocks me how many people disliked that. A lot of the reviews that I read before tonight are all slating the change in POV and getting that insight. But I really enjoyed it.
Why? I just don't...
let me see if I screenshotted any. I don't think I did.
But what I have to say, Kate Golden, is you put your whole pussy into that book, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Like, especially for a debut author, because, again, like, I can totally empathise that, like, she writes a corker of the first book, but in terms of world building, it's not the biggest, right?
Yeah.
And then, but it does really, really well, which are good for you, right? Like, good for her. But then it's like all of a sudden, shit, now I've got to write a second book. And almost, is there more pressure now? Because if it had just sort of done okay, the first book, she probably, I'm not saying she would put less effort into it, but like, there's not as much pressure.
No.
And you would think that it would go the opposite, and she'd kind of like, not panic, but like, it probably would be not what she wanted, because she's now like, before she was self-published, but now she's just published.
Yeah.
She's on tight timelines to turn around she's turned around 2 and 3 in fucking months.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. And so you think like, oh well, is it going to be a bit shite?
Yeah.
Because she's had to just produce it quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my god, no, she put her fucking life and soul into that.
So this person's review is sort of saying what you were saying. So she rants for a little bit, and then she says, I'm also over FMCs being written as young, fragile and naive, and they have sexual relationships with ancient men who seem immature for their age.
I'm fine with the age gap. Some people hate it. I'm fine with the age gap. I just didn't love the like descriptions of Arwen.
Yeah. And then this one, didn't vibe with this one as much as the first. Hate when authors change up their style in the middle of a series. If your first book is one POV, then keep it to one POV. The secondary characters also took too much space, and they weren't even likable. No, I wouldn't agree with it either. Yeah, some people are a bit miffed with the...
It's doing well on Goodreads, though. 4.3.
Yeah.
4.5 for you, 4.5 for me.
Absolutely.
I loved it. It delivered, but in a way that I didn't expect it to.
And it was just so easy to read. I think like it makes a difference when you're really enjoying the read because you just fly through it. Like, yeah, it was just so enjoyable.
It was the first book in a long, long time that I read and I went, God, this is why I fucking love this.
Yeah.
Like, it gave me the same feels as finishing like Daughter of No Worlds or ACOTAR.
No, I agree.
And I haven't had that in a really, really long time.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Anything else to add, or are we done? Are we talk about what we're going to do next, maybe?
Yeah, so we're going to try and do a wish list episode.
Yeah, it sounds so fun.
Where we sort of write a shopping list of what we want from the next books in series.
Yes.
So we're going to write a shopping list for what we want in the next ACOTAR.
Yeah.
What we want to see in the next Fourth Wing.
Yes.
Whatever it's called, Onyx, Storm.
Yeah.
We said maybe the next Powerless, Reckless, what we want to see from that.
From Blood and Ash.
And yeah, for the next... Did we say that? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
Crescent
City.
City.
This year. And we said Crescent City, that was the other one. We had quite a few.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Down.
But yeah, we're going to try and write like a shopping list of what we would like to see or what we wouldn't like to see in the next books.
Yes.
And we're going to do Bride by Ali Hazelwood.
We're going to do that after.
Yes.
But that was A Promise of Peridot.
By Kate Golden. Book 2.
And I cannot fucking wait for number 3.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate Golden.
Thanks, Kate Golden. We love you.
We ate that up.
All of it.
Stunning. Thanks for listening.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok @apod of Smut and Wingspan.
See you next week.
Bye.